Today I'm going to be talking about whether or not you should go to business school. I'm going to show you some pros and cons that I wrote down on this whiteboard, and I'm going to explain why I ended up choosing not to go to business school. But that doesn't mean that you should make the same choice. I'm going to weigh out all the prominent pros and cons and trade-offs and just pose them so that you can consider the right factors when you make your decision. So I'm going to make this video short because I think people ramble in these videos and they say in 15 minutes what can be said in 3 minutes. So in that spirit, let's just go through the pros and cons very quickly. These are the major pros and cons. And for me, I know plenty of people, tons of classmates, friends who have gone to business school, are thinking about it, who have not. So let's go through my experience and why. Pros: higher job applications. There's people in my network who have told me straight up that they've hired someone because of a grad school degree, and that was the only difference between the candidates, or at least a difference that was noticeable enough to tip the scales. So that's something to consider. Networking. A lot of these schools, mostly the top 10, top 5 schools really, they have a lot of networking connections that can allow you to maybe meet someone who ends up being a CEO of a Fortune 500 one day or something like that, or at least a successful entrepreneur or manager. So being able to tap into that alumni network is potentially valuable, but I would argue only for the top 5 to 10 schools. And then prestige, when people see that on your resume, especially mostly if it's just a top 5 or 10 school, it makes a huge difference. Now, most of the people I know, whether they're classmates, managers, other people who have gotten a business school degree, and I even know people who worked under me who have gotten an MBA, and most of these people are getting them from places that are not like Ivy Leagues. They're more so kind of universities that you and I may not be familiar with. And so that's one of the cons that you want to really consider, because a lot of the information that you're absorbing in these classes nowadays can be learned yourself through iTunes U, through Udemy, through YouTube. A lot of the coursework on accounting and management sometimes can be absorbed for free or for very, very much reduced costs. So you're not so much paying for the education as much as the networking. So that's something you have to consider. And so think about it. It is one of the highest post-grad degrees. There's other people I know who are or have finished PhDs or masters, and they tell me straight up an MBA costs more, sometimes twice as much, depending on the school. So is that really worth it if the information you can get online? Now, that's not always the case, depending on the specific specialty of degree you're getting for that MBA, for that school. Especially in the second year, there may be certain specialty classes or coursework that you can only get at that school, but you have to determine that ahead of time and identify if it's worth it or not. Other effects, cons potentially: huge time costs and no career effect. So a lot of these people are working full-time jobs and then doing the coursework, the homework, the exams, and studying after work. So they're essentially working 1.5 or 2 full-time jobs to get that degree done. I personally know some people who have done that, and it's definitely pretty stressful, especially if you are thinking about having a kid one day or in the near future. And then there's no career effects. Now, yes, some people, like I said, some hiring managers are biased, but there are others who are just like, they don't care as much. So with all that being said, is that something that is worth the risk? You could very well do all this, put it on your resume, and people may not care. It depends on the job title you're going after. Some jobs, rightfully so, they just care if you can deliver the work. Graphic designer, programmer. And so that's why certain companies, even like Google, are now hiring high school graduates right out of school because they care more about your potential and the work ethic, not a piece of paper. So that's something you have to consider. Is putting 50K down really worth that? And you see people like Antonio Centeno who have gotten business degrees, and if you're not familiar, he has millions of subscribers on his fashion YouTube channel, and he's mentioned numerous times how he paid for a business degree, and it gave him zero net effect, and it ended up being what he learned on the streets on his own through starting a successful fashion business company off of YouTube that actually netted him, a multiple six-figure business. So these are all the highlights. The video is getting long. That's all I'm going to say. Thanks for watching.